Menopausal and perimenopausal women, listen up. It's time to take control of your health and comfort, and Winona is here to help. Winona is a telemedicine company for menopause care who believes that your symptoms are real, important, and deserve to be taken seriously. And for many women, this starts with hormone replacement therapy. Winona's HRT is made with plant-based, bioidentical hormones rather than synthetic ones, so it better aligns with your body to offer relief from hot flashes, weight gain, and other uncomfortable symptoms. 80% of women who use Winona find relief within just 90 days. So, what are you waiting for? Get started today. Visit buywinona.com today to start your free visit. With free shipping and the ability to pause or cancel at any time, your path to wellness has zero obligations. Use code SPRING24 at buywinona.com for 25% off your first treatment plan. That's BYWINONA.com for 25% off. Winona. Menopause care made easy. Summer is the season of hot temperatures, outdoor adventures, and refreshing water activities. Summer is also the season of rough on your feet, causing dry, cracked heels and toes. Introducing Babyfoot, the original exfoliation foot peel that contains 16 natural extracts formulated to remove dead skin cells in 3 easy steps. Apply the booties, relax for an hour, then wash your feet. In 14 days, you've got baby smooth skin and your feet have never been softer. Letting dead skin cells build up over time is hazardous to your foot health. Our professional-grade DIY products, like our original exfoliation foot peel, our men's foot peel, or our moisturizing mask, are some of the best foot care products on the market, created with your foot health in mind. Pamper yourself with a spa day from the comfort and convenience of your own home with Babyfoot. If you want a chemical-free, easy-to-use exfoliating process from the company that created the original foot peel, it's time to treat yourself to Babyfoot. Go to babyfoot.com and use the code SUMMERFEET24 and get 20% off your first order with Babyfoot. That's babyfoot.com and use the code SUMMERFEET24.
Hello, and welcome to Too Stupid to Live, a podcast that reviews romance novels $5 and under. And hoo boy, is it burning up now. And not just because there's a space heater near me. No, today is a special Hot as Hell with TSTL episode where I talk with romance authors and other folks in the romance community. And today's guest is the one, the only Kelly Reynolds, host of the Boobies and Newbies podcast, who has a brand spankin', literally, new novella out called Meet Me in Los Feliz. So today's episode is brought to you by Kobo Plus. If you're one of those romance readers who always signs up for authors' newsletters, because you know it usually comes with a free book whenever you do that, thank you, authors, you've probably been noticing lately in these newsletters, authors have been sharing that their books are now available on Kobo. So what is Kobo, you ask? Rakuten Kobo is like having your favorite bookstore with you wherever you go. By downloading the free Kobo app or purchasing one of their innovative e-readers, you have access to the always open Kobo bookstore and can integrate the power of reading into your everyday life. And now there is also Kobo Plus, Kobo's all-you-can-read ebook subscription service. For a low monthly cost, you can enjoy unlimited reading of over 1 million ebooks. And if you are a voracious reader, and like depending on the math, which I really can't do, it means that you could be reading books that cost like under 75 cents each. Again, don't know the math. But also, you know, again, this is also math, guys. Like, if it's correct, 75 cents is under $5, which means you would clearly be living the TSTL lifestyle. As I like to say, that's the first time I said it. Anyway, you can find more information about Kobo Plus on today's show notes and at tstlpodcast.com. So without further ado, get out those sun hats because it is time for Kelly Reynolds to get hot as hell with TSTL. Kelly Reynolds, welcome back to Too Stupid to Live.
I'm always happy to be here, although I think I'm still debating on if it's Too Stupid to Boobies or Boobies and Stupids, you know, like whatever that combination is.
Our crossover, I think Boobies and Stupids, we really should do a crossover. Like, I think like we should find some sort of like explosion, explosive crossover event for our two podcasts.
I love it. The monthly or annual Boobies and Stupids convention.
Yeah, exactly. Like we'll rent out a hotel in Anaheim.
Yes, of course. And all boobies and stupids are invited.
All boobies and stupids are invited. It's going to be this huge thing. It's going to be bigger than Comic-Con. It's going to be great.
And our initials would be BS. So great.
Great. BS Con. It's BS Con.
I'm here for it. So you just
Yeah.
let me know when and where, and I will be there.
Okay, great. Kelly, this is always an exciting time of year for you, for your podcast, Boobies and Newbies. But this is an especially exciting time of year specifically because you have two exciting things going on. You have your Boobsmas episodes. You also have a new holiday romance out. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You've been a part of the journey from like the very beginning. So congrats to you and congrats to us for still being friends after making it through that whole grueling process.
I know. I'm so glad our friendship survived it.
I don't know if everybody can say the same. So I think we should be very proud of ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, good. Congrats to us. But, you're a romance podcaster, and I'm sure you get the question before you wrote this book, like, do you write romance novels? Or are you thinking of writing a romance novel? You always would answer. And now you did it. You made the transition.
Yeah, it's true. It is a little surreal in a way, just because like thinking about just like a year ago at this point, like I'd always kind of like thrown around ideas. And obviously I come from a writing background in screenwriting. And I know that, we share a love of comedy and comedy writing, but it never had really occurred to me like, yes, I'm going to write a book. And even a year ago, like last December, it wasn't even like a thought. And then this year, I don't know why, but I just decided this was the year. This was the year that I was going to write something. And I did it. I mean, it's probably one of the only resolutions I've ever made for myself and actually fulfilled.
Do you know how huge that is, though? Like, it's so huge.
Yeah, I think I have a tendency, and I think a lot of women do this, especially to like downplay our accomplishments. So like if people are like, oh my God, that's so exciting, like you have a book, I'm like, oh no, it's just a novella, it's just a short story, like it's not a real book. I self-published it myself, and I'm trying to get out of the habit of doing that, because you and I both know that a lot of the books we read are indie published. A lot of the books we read are published by the authors themselves or even small presses. And it is a lot of work. And as much as I felt that I knew about books and about the publishing process before deciding to do it myself, you don't know until you do it. You do not know. You cannot know. Because I would come across things. I'm still coming across things that I am just astonished by. Like, I have to do what? I have to think about what? I have to save, huh? Like, so it really is an incredible process. And then when you think about when an author self-publishes their book, they are doing everything. They are doing the actual writing. That's the easy part. They're doing the marketing, they're doing the editing or finding an editor to edit it. They're paying for all of these things. They're having the cover art created. They're having I didn't even think about the back cover art and the spine of the book. Who knew that was a thing? And it's just, it's wild when you think about it, because when we talk about traditional publishing, you have an entire team, you have an entire staff who each person is dedicated to one piece of this part of publishing. And I have a newfound, I already respected indie writers to begin with, but I have a newfound appreciation and respect for people who make a living out of doing this.
Yeah. It seems like, having to wear all of these hats as an indie publisher and, self-publishing, it seems like do you have more creative control though over like, because you're like, you can decide what the cover looks like. You can, have the final edit, things like that.
Yeah. And I think that is definitely one of the trade-offs. And it's why I think there are a lot more authors who are deciding to indie publish, especially not just creative control when it comes to the cover art and the marketing and all that, but also just the content of the book. Because, when I sat down to write this book, I wasn't necessarily thinking, oh, this is something that I'm going to, shop out, that I'm going to look for an agent and try to get this published by somebody. Because in my head, I was thinking, no, this is a short story. I'm including queer characters. I'm including fat characters. It takes place in the least romantic Christmas destination in America, Los
Yes.
Angeles. And it's not necessarily something that I would see wanting to be desired by massive publishing companies. And so that's what I like about a lot of indie content. And it's why I predominantly read books published by indie authors at this point, is that there's a lot less restrictions, because at the end of the day, it's you writing the story you want to read and putting it out there.
Yeah. So as you said, your story or the novella takes place in the least romantic or the least Christmassy romantic, city in the history of cities, which I agree with, Los Angeles. You said that like you just wanted to write a book that was just like the spatial time between Thanksgiving and December, just going on a fuck fest. That is not your words, but it's kind of your words. Tell me your words.
Yeah, I think I said sexy shenanigans, like holiday shenanigans, and like a hot hookup. Like that was basically what I was going for, was like, I want this to be a very millennial romance. Like I want this to be very much like, they're not necessarily dating in a traditional sense. They're not going through like these mile markers of what we might think of as like a traditional romantic relationship. And I think something that millennials and probably Gen Z too are very familiar with is this concept of cuffing season, and just finding somebody to keep you warm from Thanksgiving through Valentine's Day. And that's kind of how the relationship between Nora and Bowie begins, is just this idea of like, neither of us are really looking for a relationship. Bowie has always been a relationship kind of guy, and Nora is so focused on pursuing her career and her dreams that she's not really looking for one at all. And they both kind of stumble into the perfect person, the perfect partner for each other. And they try to avoid it. They try to avoid the feelings. They try to keep it just as like a casual hot hookup. But oh no, feelings get in the way. And of course, holiday sexy shenanigans ensue.
Sure. You said you obviously based the character of Nora on you.
What?
Correct. I
Becky?
think you did. Well, no, just because of the cover and like what you were talking about. And I was like curious, is there any part of Bowie as a character that has any reflections of you?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I think so. I think the way that I think about at least the characters that I want to write in, and I know that this isn't going to be the case in everything that I do write, and I do plan on writing more, but I do think of like my heroines as being an extension of me, and my heroes as being the aspirational partner that I would like. And obviously there are going to be some changes. I don't want to write a tattooed fat main character every single time. I mean, I could, like, let's be honest, like I'm not upset about that idea either. Like, and I'm sure there will be a lot of tattooed plus size heroines and heroes in my writing future. But yeah, I do think there was a little bit of me and Bowie as well. I think I'm trying to identify like what it is about him specifically. He's very giving, and I like to think of myself as being somebody who I definitely like to give a lot more than receive. Like I love to, I mean, especially around the holidays, I love buying presents. I love it. I love finding the perfect gift for somebody, which ironically is actually not one of Bowie's strong suits in the book.
But I get the sense of giving because he's like game and enthusiastic. And I
Yeah.
see that in you, obviously. Well, you have that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, if you can't tell from my loud ass personality. But no, I think I do think there's a lot more of Nora, a lot more of me and Nora, like
Right.
especially a lot of it when it comes to like the idea of pursuing like a career over a relationship, a lot of it in terms of, loving your body, the body that you have. And I think Bowie was kind of a culmination of like, in my mind, the quote unquote perfect partner,
Mm-hmm.
somebody who just supports you regardless of what it is you're pursuing, somebody who's also very comfortable with themselves, because I find that to be something that I think a lot of people have issues with. And I do think it's actually a lot more men have issues with than women do.
Mm-hmm.
And, just somebody who is the sweet, fluffy marshmallow on the outside, but also will choke you a little bit in the bedroom.
Damn, does he choke her? I mean, in a good way. Your sex
Yeah.
scenes were hot. This is what I loved about this book is that there, it's low stakes. There's a level of sweetness to their romance.
Mhm.
There's sweet. But then you get inside their bedrooms, and boy, do these two have a good time.
It was so funny too, as I was writing the sex scenes and like as the reviews have been coming in, which thankfully have for the most part been really, really wonderful. I've had everything from people saying, "Oh my God, this is one of the sexiest things I've ever read," or at least like this is one of the sexiest holiday romances I've ever read, to other people saying like, I thought people maybe touted this as sexier than I ended up thinking it was. And I was kind of in the middle. I was actually surprised that I got so much feedback from people saying that they thought it was super spicy, because to me, I just think about all the things that I read on a day-to-day basis. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there's some spice in it, but like it's not wild. I knew though, I was like, the one thing I knew going into it, I was like, there's going to be toys. Like there has to be toy play, because I love to read it. I love to see it. I mean, I love toys in general. And I just think toys get very severely misrepresented as being something that you just use for personal use and not with a partner. And
Yeah.
toys can be such a fun thing to use with a partner. So that's what I definitely wanted to include. And I got it in
Yeah,
there.
I did. Because I think like with like maybe there's some like idea that like, oh, in a romance, like when you have your perfect partner, I was about to say perfect mate
Mhm.
because I'm listening to a werewolf romance. When you have like your perfect mate, you shouldn't have the need to use toys because their
Yes.
bodies, everything they do is going to fulfill you in every way. So
Hate it.
no need. And so I love how you bring in like, fuck need. This is fun, you know?
Yeah, they're I know I've seen people like say this in a much more eloquent way, but like use them as like a complementary tool. Don't think of them as your enemy. And that's how I think of them. Is I think they're great to use alone, don't get me wrong, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with using them with your partner as well. And I think in fact it can enhance the experience for both of you, all of you, so that's something that I love to read. And it's definitely something that I want to consistently keep in writing as
Mm-hmm.
well. So that was one of the things that I knew going in. I had like a list of things that I was like, okay, I want to get this in there. I want to get this in there. I mean, it became a very long list as soon as I joined TikTok
Uh-huh.
too, because I just kept seeing videos where I'm like, ooh, I love that. We got to get that in. We got to put something like that in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you get everything you wanted in? Like, was there anything that you wanted in that maybe was on the cutting room floor, on the B
That's a
sides?
B-sides. Got to save it for the bonus scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I don't know. That's a good question. And like thinking about it, I can't think of anything off
That's
the top
great.
of my head. And in fact, I think I ended up including some things that I might not necessarily have planned for, which, if you know me, is a big deal because I plan everything. I have a color coordinated planner. I love to plot out literally every screenplay I've written. Like anything I think about, I love to write it down first. And so I tried to give myself grace as I was working on this because I had a pretty thorough outline for the first 4 chapters. And then after that, I kind of just went with it. Like I knew what each chapter was going to be. I knew who the point of view was going to be for each chapter. But other than that, it was kind of like, let's just see what happens. And that was great. I mean, it's something that I don't know if I could be a complete pantser. Like I think I'm still very much a plotter at heart, but it was an interesting experiment. And I accidentally plotted out a romance for 2 more characters that are in this book that was not planned originally. It just kind of happened because of the events of this book.
Yeah, it just seems like, when you are without like any sort of when you're without a plan, there is so much more room to discover something more and discover just incredible new ideas.
Which is both exciting, but also terrifying. Like
I'm scared.
Yeah. I am that person who, when I go on a trip, I want to plan. I don't want to say every moment, but like I grew up in a family where that's what we did was like, my dad always wanted us to leave at 5 a.m. because, well, we had to be at the place by noon. Why? Because they open at noon. That's why. And I think it became ingrained in me from an early age that like, you have to pack your day full of all these things. And now it's to the point where, I work from home. I do my creative projects from home. So like, if I'm not working on something, there's this thought of like, I don't want to say failure, but like there's like a guilt that comes along with it of like, you should be doing something. You should be filling your time with something else. And it's something that I think a lot of people have that we desperately need to work on. And actually, I think one of the things that the pandemic has helped with a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like that's kind of something that I'm working on personally right now. And it's just like, because I think our brains are programmed to be like, how can we optimize our time? It's always optimize. And it's just like this idea of like, you can just do nothing.
And that is optimizing.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's just like, oh yeah, like breathing and shit. You know what I mean? Like we should do that.
We need to recharge. We need, and that's the part that I'm still trying to get a handle of is this idea of like, when you aren't doing something, quote unquote, you're not doing something, you're still actually doing something. You're recharging your batteries. You're getting extra sleep. You're, washing your hair, like, whatever it might be. These are all things that still contribute to like your personal health and well-being that then will make you more productive and more effective when you do work and when you do write or whatever it is that you're doing. So yeah, this is a constant battle with myself, but I do think I'm getting better.
Yeah. Listen, I admire you. Like I think it's a thing a lot of people struggle with. And like, just the fact that you're just like, I'm going into battle. Let's do it. I find it admirable.
Yeah. The tough part will be writing another book. I think the first book, and I know that there's obviously the complications that come with like figuring out publishing and figuring out the formatting and, all this stuff. But I do think, and I've done some ghostwriting already, I do think the second book is going to be harder because you've basically set a certain expectation. You've you've set an expectation for yourself, but also for people who are reading the books. You also need to like kind of start over, which I think is always scary. Again, scary and exciting because it could go anywhere, but also you're starting from ground zero. So yeah, I'm definitely nervous about writing the next one, but excited too because I'm excited about the characters.
Yeah. Well, back to your writing process, like when you were like promoting the book and when you do promote the book, you share like, I'm going to say vision boards or like visual, like what Bowie looks like and like Nora and like, kind of like the feeling of the book. Like how much does that like kind of visual vision board kind of thing play into your writing process?
So that was actually interesting for me because early on, I basically put off writing as long as I could. And I was like, well, I want to focus on all these other things. And that includes the cover art and like I work in marketing and social media. So I wanted to, of course, I'm like, oh, how am I going to promote this? But you quickly realize like you can't really do a lot of the things until you write the damn book. And because it's A leads to B leads to C, and I'm trying to jump to like X and not an option. So one of the things though that I did want to do early on is find a cover artist, because I knew that I wanted to have a plus size main character. And one of the complications about that is that there just aren't a lot of stock photos and stock images of characters who look anything beyond what I think we would consider like the typical idea of like traditional beauty, at least by like Eurocentric standards. And so you don't see a lot of plus size people in these photos. And I knew, okay, that means it's going to have to be illustrated. And I reached out to a fellow author who is also an illustrator, and she does her own covers. I asked her, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is something you do, but like, could you design a cover for me? And then she asked, well, what would you like it to look like? And I said, I haven't the vaguest idea. and I think it's because whenever I was writing screenplays, I genuinely didn't really think about what my characters looked like, because I always thought, okay, you know what? This isn't something I can control. Like, if somebody is going to make my movie, if somebody's going to make my show, they're going to cast whoever they want to play this part. Now, granted, I think if I was to take on any of those projects now, I would be a lot more conscious when it came to the casting. I would be a lot more specific about the body types and the races and the sexualities that I want to see presented on screen. And that's kind of the lens that I brought to the book. And that's where the vision boarding came in, was I thought about, okay, what do I want these people to look like? Because I want to see characters who not only represent me, my friends, but also people that I feel like I don't get to see in romance. And as a fat woman, I knew she was going to be a big girl. I knew I wanted that. And I got a thigh tattoo and thought, you know what? Yeah, make her tattooed. Give her some tattoos. That'd be great. Let's give her some colorful hair, because I love that. Was there a reason for it? Absolutely not. I just thought it'd be really cool for her to have purple hair. And who would have thunk too, because I ended up kind of making this purple, like lavender purple, the like main color scheme for the book too. And that's kind of where it started, was from Nora's hair. And it became like the color scheme for the rest of the book, because I knew I was writing a Christmas book that wasn't really Christmassy. And for Bowie, I really wanted a short king. I hate that we just see so many men getting shit on for being short. And that's not to say that there aren't people who bring, I think, what we think of as like short energy. However, with Bowie, I was like, no. I want a man who owns the way he looks. He loves the way he looks. He doesn't have a problem with his height. He's just as into her, even though she's taller than him. And I also, at the same time, stumbled across a couple gentlemen on TikTok, one of whom is probably the most accurate visual representation for what Bowie ended up being. And I did a TikTok on my page comparing the two. I think I like, he could probably sue me because I was just so accurate to his description. And then the other guy was British, and that's where the British part of it came in. So it was really just a collection of me trying to figure out what I wanted the characters to look like. And that's how the vision boarding process came in, was I want it to be a little of this. I want her to have that. I want him to have this. I want him to paint his nails. I was very into that. I love a man who paints his nails. And so, yeah, that's sort of how that came to be. But it's something that I'm going to continue doing for anything else I write, to one, be more conscious of like the characters that I'm creating, but also to know how to tell people like how to represent them in cover art. Because if you don't know what they look like, how can you possibly expect somebody else to understand how to bring your vision to life. So
Right. Yeah.
lesson learned.
Yeah. So with your next book, are you in the vision board process? Like where or have you, I mean, I don't want to like be like, are you done yet? But like, are you done yet, Kelly?
We're nowhere near done. We're nowhere near done. And I will say I so appreciate the people who have been like, oh my God, I need Killian and Leighton's story immediately. You're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait because it's just this isn't my full-time job. I wish it was. And you know what? Maybe someday it will be. But until I have the time and the energy to be able to put it towards being my full-time job, it's going to get done when it's going to get done. And I've basically told myself that it's going to come out probably around the same time in 2023. I'm contributing to a couple anthology projects in the next couple of years. And so those have kind of like sprinkled timelines, but I'm definitely not the person who writes a book a month like some people do. And I am extremely jealous of the fact that they can do that. I will just toil and judge myself and rewrite it and think this isn't good enough and do it again and all over and over. And so it's going to take some time. I do have kind of a basic idea of what the story is going to be. I know who the characters are, and I'm even planning a third book that'll be interconnected. However, we haven't met either of those characters yet. So then, it's just another complication to figure out in book 2 to set them up in book 2 for book 3. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. Are these going to be like Christmas novellas, or are you planning on like, are they just like going to be novels? Like, how are you envisioning?
So I am also kind of like thinking about some novel ideas, but it's not related to this series. I am thinking that Killian and Leighton's book and then the book that will follow will complete what is like a 3-book interconnected holiday series set in Los Angeles because we don't have enough of those. So yeah, in my mind, I'm calling it like I'm trying to like fa la 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 land.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
that's la 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 land trilogy. Oh my God. I love it.
It's so many la-las though.
There are a lot of la-las. I don't know.
La land. Like it doesn't have the right ring to it. And like I was so proud of coming up with the title Meet Me in Los Feliz. And I know that I'm gonna have to follow with 2 more titles that somehow also incorporate Los Angeles into them. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah. It's weird. It seems like those decisions seem more stressful than like writing the story, maybe. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's different for everyone because like one of the things I've always loved about listening to your show is I love when you come up with taglines and blurbs for books. And I'm just like, oh my God, Becky could be like a tagline or blurb writer. And that's something that a lot of authors hate. They hate writing blurbs. And honestly, some people should not be writing their own blurbs. And it shows in the blurbs. And I'm not even, this isn't me being mean. They know it. They know it.
Sure. Yeah.
And I thought mine was fine. That wasn't the part I was super critical about. The title, I happen to think I have a knack for coming up with like punny names and like punny things like that. I mean, my podcast is called Boobies and Newbies. I'm doing the 12 days of boobsmas. I host a thing on YouTube called Tit Talk. Like there are things that I know are my strengths. And so the title I know will come. I'm not as worried about that one, but yeah, girl, if you want to get into blurb writing and like tagline writing, do it.
Oh, I'm going to get into it. Absolutely. Listen, I'm putting myself out there to do the blurb for your next book. So I'll do it for free.
You're hired.
Do you hear that, everyone? This is now recorded on air. Kelly has officially hired me.
Yes.
100%. Well, you mentioned boobsmas, so I think we got to talk about that before we wrap up. You do this every year. It's
Mhm.
being kicked off, but do you want to give a quick explanation about Boobsmas?
Of course. So the 12 Days of Boobsmas is my annual holiday special for boobies and newbies. It is 12 mini podcast episodes, 12 holiday romance reviews, and 12 giveaways all in the month of December because I'm a crazy person who decided that even though I have a tough time producing 4 episodes in a given month for boobies and newbies, why not do 12 at the end of the year, the busiest time of year,
Mm-hmm.
but make them holiday?
Yeah, of course. Well, listen, you're a good organizer.
It's honestly, it's something I really do look forward to every year because I love the holidays. And so I love to watch the movies, I love to read the books, I love shopping for gifts. Like I just really honestly I've thought about like turning Boobies and Newbies into like an all year round holiday romance podcast because
Hmm.
I really do love them and there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many and as you and I both know, we know that a lot of them are very skewed towards Christmas. And I love those because I
Hmm.
celebrate Christmas, although I am very excited to see that we are starting to see more representation when it comes to winter holidays.
Hmm.
There needs to be more, like 100. It's not even a question. Like there needs to be more. Hanukkah, I'm reading my first Kwanzaa romance this year. I even read a Yule romance a few years ago and oh my gosh, I want more of them because it
Hmm.
sounded like such a beautiful celebration. But yeah, so come on over to the Boobies and Newbies page because we'll be reviewing holiday romance all throughout the month of December. They're supposed to be bite-sized episodes. I will say I tend to run on the longer side. I try to keep them around 50 minutes to an hour. And they're the perfect thing to listen to, like as you're cooking, as you're driving to and from grandma's, like,
Hmm.
whatever it might
But
be,
just grandma, no one else.
just grandma. Like, don't go see anybody else. Stay
Yeah,
at home.
grandma only. You're only allowed to
Honest,
visit grandma.
honestly, that would be fine by me. I would be fine staying home the rest of the time. But,
Sure. You have
but
a lot
yeah,
to do. Yeah, that's well, it's very exciting. I my book club they were mentioning Boobsmas, and they're all so impressed that you do it every
oh,
year. It's just like it's a huge undertaking. Like you're reading 12 books
yeah,
plus on top of like editing, marketing, giveaways. I
yeah.
mean, it is like very, very impressive.
It's a lot. And I think after this is my sixth year, I think, of doing them.
Hmm.
And maybe it's 5. It might be 5. I'm lying to myself and overestimating my abilities. But um after doing it for so many years, I've definitely learned things that work and things that don't. I do try to keep it about half and half with full length novels and novellas. I
Yeah.
also think novellas for the holidays is perfection because it's like listening to the mini podcast episodes. You want to get in, you want to get out. You don't have
Yeah.
time to spend reading a 400-page book. So that is, something that I love about this time of year. It's a lot of work. I'm not denying that. I also have 12 holiday romance books that I'm giving away.
Hmm.
And those giveaways start around, I usually launch it on Thanksgiving so that we
Okay.
can kind of get those contests out and people can win and get their books hopefully in time by Christmas, Hanukkah. And
Hmm.
so that's the goal. Sometimes we accomplish that goal, sometimes not. But
Listen.
it's fun and all the authors and publishers have been sweet enough to donate their books for the giveaways. And of course I pop in some extra goodies because I love to send mail. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm at Boobies Podcast across Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I don't know how much longer I'll be on Twitter. We're living in Elon Musk's world. And on TikTok, I'm at Real Kelly Ray, Rey for Ray. And I'll be doing giveaways on all 4 platforms. So if you're just on one but not the others, totally fine. And we're just talking about a fun game here and there. And you could take home a book,
A book, guys.
book, a
Book.
book for Christmas.
Can you think of anything better? I mean, listen, this is a very exciting time. Congratulations again. And I know
Thank you.
I think you and I are similar in the way of like it's very, very hard to kind of like acknowledge our accomplishments. And
Mhm.
so like I feel you, but I do think like just from being asked again and again, are you going to write a romance novel? And I say it's too hard. And the fact that you did it, like you made the crossover, I'm blown away.
You can do it too. I know you can do it too if you want to, but that's
That's the
the other
thing.
thing too
Yeah,
is like
yeah.
you don't have to. We can also there are plenty of us out here who just want to talk about books and there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, because I'm just like worried, like if I write a romance, like is it gonna like I read romance as a escape, as a release, and I
Mhm.
do the podcast, and this is, work, not like
I
it's
understand.
a performance responsibility, but like reading for me is like my escape, and it's like, oh my God, am I gonna ruin my escape by
No,
attempting to do this?
and you know what's funny is I have been feeling elements of that, but not even necessarily related to writing. It's been more of just how the longer you host a podcast, and you know this, you've been hosting longer than I do, that it does start to feel more like a business, but it's not
Mm,
necessarily a business that, depending on your podcast, is going to like sustain you and be your only work. Like
right.
I know that that's not Boobies the Newbies for me. I love that it's introduced me to a lot of opportunities that actually have become my work.
Hmm.
However, it's sometimes it can start to feel like it's not a passion project anymore and it just
Yeah.
starts to feel like an obligation, and that's something that as we head into 2023 and now that I have published a book, I am going to start to rethink. I am going to start to retool the podcast and think about what it is that I feel good about adding to the space, because I do think there's something a little iffy about critiquing other authors' books as a published author. So
Right. Hmm.
I think Boobies and Newbies will change in 2023. I have no plans to dismantle it completely. However, things evolve, projects evolve, and it's been 5 years at this point. So I think we're due for some change.
Yeah. You're evolving, like you move.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, I know like you move around a lot, but I feel like you're always evolving and changing and doing new things. And so obviously, like your output is going to like reflect that.
Yeah, this podcast has lived in 3 different states.
Yeah. It's crazy. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for being a guest. I always love you having you on the show and just being with you.
Oh, I love you. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. And oh, everybody make sure you listen to Boobsmas because you're going to hear Becky on an episode of the 12 Days of Boobsmas.
It's going to be really hot and lit, dare I
Lit.
say?
Literally lit.
Literally lit. Too Stupid to Live is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. For more podcasts you'll love, visit frolic.media/podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of your day.